Alrighty, I want to introduce you to some new code here and go over utilizing f-strings. So in this program, what I have is a set of constant variables, and you notice that what I have done is created capitals for my variables, kind of a little bit of best practice and identifying, so it's easier to identify that those are constants, meaning they're not going to change. The other thing you notice that I have is this. It's prompting the user for a name, and this is something that we'll be learning in the next module. And from here, what's going to happen is then it's going to print a message. So it's going to print this particular message, and you notice that there's something unique going on in this particular print statement. So we have actually one line, but here and here we have the /n. These are our control characters, so that means it's going to print a new line, and this one is going to be 2 new lines. So now we have our fancy print statement that's going to merge a lot of different elements together. So I'm starting out with a string first name. So first name is going to basically take this and put it in there. Continue on with a string. Programming language, it's going to substitute that with that. Continue on, and then add school, and then it'll put school at the end there. At the moment, we're going to ignore all this. So let's see what happens when we run the code. And this time when we run the code, once again, we're going to come up here and click on that to run. And then, just like before, I'm going to take the run and move it to the other side. So we're able to see how the code executes and compared to what is written in our code. So you can see we're starting off in terms of prompting, what is your name? So we are basically right here. Type my name, and then we have the following output. So let's take a look to see what has happened. So as you can see, hello, and then Python is interpreting languages. So it's printing out this particular statement, and again we have one enter there, or a new line, and 2 new lines there. So this one line basically gets to be displayed as 2 lines, and then we have 2 additional enters or new lines from there, and then we have our print statement that we have combined here. Now, a couple of things I want to point out with this particular print statement, and it's not looking very pretty. So a couple of things to identify is that the question mark or the exclamation point is a little bit too spaced out, and everything else kind of looks pretty good, but then we have this period that's kind of out in limbo. If we take a look at the code, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but if you remember, by default the commas over here are going to create basically a space. Now to fix that, we need to add a separator, and that separator that I have included here, this is going to suppress anything, meaning that it's not going to do that space. So let's go ahead and take a look at the code one more time, and when we run it, let's take a look what happens here. So let me clear the screen here and come back up here and run the code. And let's see our outputs. Now, once again, our output doesn't look real nice because technically there should be a space over here, and it kind of ran in the other components. And if we take a look at to see why, it's because it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's suppressing the spaces. So that means in our syntax here, we need now to fix and put the spaces that we wanted to and have a little bit more control of that. So I'll put a space here, And that's fine. We'll put a space there. We need to put a space there, a space there, and that should be good. Come over here and clear the screen, and let's run it one more time. And as we could see, our syntax now, the output is basically perfect. It works. All right, so now let's take a look at what's required for parts 1 and part 2. So part 1 is we're going to create a new print statement of the original print statement and format it utilizing an F string. So this is our original line, and what we're going to do is, let's see, come up over here, and we'll just take our print statement that we have here, and we'll just copy that. And down below here, we're going to add our print statement, and we'll make some modifications. So utilizing an F string, so we're going to get rid of that. We don't need that. We're going to need the quotation mark there. And we're going to start out with the F, identifying that's an F string. Our starting quotes, we're going to get rid of that. And then our variables are going to be put into curly brackets. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Alright, you are in, get rid of that, and put this in curly brackets. Get rid of that. Programming class, get rid of that. So this is our variable, so that gets wrapped in curly brackets. Move that there, get rid of that, and that, and put our period there, so that looks good. Alright, I don't see any errors, so let's go ahead and come back here and run it. And if we take a look at the code, so this is basically part 2, and this output is with our string, so that's our part 1. Now also I want to highlight, and I'm kind of putting in some little nuggets as we go through and experiment with the code. So one thing that you see here is that I have this fancy, squiggly line, and that squiggly line is up here. So I'm utilizing different escape codes to actually change the color and then change it back to the white color afterwards. So I'm changing it to that kind of cyan color, and then I'm utilizing this particular syntax to print 50 of these little tilde components there. And then now let's take a look at what part 2 is entailing. And let's see, part 2. Alright, so we create a print statement to display the type. So we want to make sure that we understand the data types that we have. And we'll write a complete sentence with that. We'll come back over here to our code. And down below here, we'll utilize this. So print statements, the data type of the variable first name is type, right? First name, because we're identifying what data type it is. And then the value of this is, give me whatever that value is. All right, so let's go ahead and run the code real quick, and off we go. So what is my name? That's, and down below we have our output. Let me show you real quick here. So now the data type for the variable first name is going to be type string, and the value is marked. So again, this is basically the syntax for that particular line that we just created for part B. Okay, so that's it for this particular one.